Chapter 2, Himalaya ka Yogi. Contact with Yogi Tejnath. Tejnath was a good yogi, and Vyasadeva wanted to learn yoga from him. So the young man approached him, and Tejnath was so deeply impressed. Tejnath was so deeply impressed by the young man by the earnestness and sharp intellect of the young man, and gladly agreed to give him lessons in yoga, but made it a condition that he should first receive initiation into the sect. Vyasadeva said that he would first study the sect and then accept initiation. Vyasadeva visited Tejnath off and on, but did not agree to initiated in the Nath sect, which Tejnath followed. However, Vyasadeva was admitted in Sanskrit school and began to study Sanskrit grammar. The students in this school were all brahmacharis, vanprasthis and sannyasis. Though Vyasadeva did not accept initiation into the Nath sect, Hitananda liked him because he was so keenly desirous of learning yoga, and entrusted him to Brahmachari Satyavrata, with whom Vyasadeva became very intimate. Satyavrata initiated him into yoga exercise and taught him the method of pranayama and silent recitation of Gayatri. So keen was the desire of Vyasadeva to learn yoga that he used to devote 6 hours daily to its practice. He used to practice yoga from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. When he felt overpowered of sleep, he tied his shikha to a rope hanging from the branch of a tree under which he sat. So thus he kept awake and slept hardly more than 4 hours a day. After 8 a.m. he used to take his bath and join the brahmacharis of ashram at the holy Agnihotra. Then he listened the religious talk given by Swami Hitananda and or some other saint present. After this he studied Sanskrit with Pandit Nanuram. During his stay in ashram, Vyasadeva came very close to Swami Vedananda, Swami Shivananda Bharati, Swami Vijayananda Bhikshu, Swami Chidananda, Brahmachari, Satyavrata, Manudatta and Hukumchanda. During the period of exercises, Vyasadeva took only meal one day and used to forego his dinner. Later on, he began to devote the time from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. also to the practice of yoga. Thus he gave daily 10 hours to the practice of yoga and 6 hours to the study of Sanskrit. In 2 years' time, he finished his study of Laghu Kaumudi and had studied several books on literature and learned to write and speak Sanskrit with ease. Now next, chapter is is connect with another yogi. One day, Vyasadeva came into the contact with the Brahmachari Satya Deva, who used to practice yoga in Kajli Van. Kajli Van is situated nearby Haridwar. Okay, it's near Chandi Devi temple. So they had a long talk on yoga, and Vyasadeva felt very much drawn towards Satyadeva on account of his selfishness and desire for knowledge, and resolved to practice yoga with him in the Kajlivana. Satyadeva told Vyasadeva that stay in Kajlivana was fraught with extreme difficulties. One had to live only such fruits as were available there. The forest abundant in fierce beasts like panthers, tigers, and elephants. Sometimes one had to pass the night on machans. Vyasadeva, however, did not feel frightened by the picture of Kajlivana because he was determined to practice yoga, which he had set before himself as the object of his life. Satyadeva was glad that Vyasadeva's resolution was so firm, and when the latter insisted to accompany him, the former gave consent. Swami Hitananda had great love for Vyasadeva. And was sorry when he learned that the young man was going to leave the ashram, but he gave him permission to leave because he knew that he had resolved to repair to the forest and practice yoga there. On Satyadeva advice, Vyasadeva took some sattu. Sattu is a food which is made by wheat. So he took some sattu with him, accompanied with the Brahmachari. They crossed the Neel Ganga and entered Kajlivana. So, Neel Ganga is the Ganga river just in the front of Har Ki Pauri in Haridwar. After crossing that, that area is Kajlivana. So they crossed the Neel Ganga and entered Kajlivana and reached the place where Satyadeva had his machan. Vyasadeva also built a machan near it. Nearby there was a pond where panthers, tigers, and elephants used to come and drink water. Satyadeva instructed Vyasadeva, never approach a beast, nor feel frightened, but be indifferent and never entertain the idea of any injury to them. Vyasadeva gradually habituated himself to live on boiled bila fruit. The boiled bila is the bilb in Sanskrit, or in Hindi we call it bel. So it's also favorite for Lord Shiva. So it's come in the summer time. So this fruit called bilb. So he just used to take this boiled bila because only this fruit was available there. He passed most of his time on the machan and climbed down at 6 a.m. and stayed on the ground till 10 a.m. He and Satyadeva went together to collect firewood when they sometimes sighted a herd of elephants. Satyadeva knew how to behave on such occasions and advised Vyasadeva to be fearless even when a tiger or some other beast was in sight. Satyadeva was a now this is about Satyadeva. Satyadeva was a learned scholar. After passing his Shastri examination, he felt a desire to learn yoga. He left home and went into forest. He was born in a Brahman family of Jammu state. He renounced home when he was 32. He had an impressive personality and had taken a vow to speak only Sanskrit. He used to devote as much as 16 hours daily in the practice of yoga. 16 hours daily. He and lived on only on amlas, pilas, and such other foods as were available. He had complete control on his sense organs, and he had given up taking salt, sugar, or sugar candy. Satyadeva treated Vyasadeva with paternal affection and taught him yoga with a great interest. He had asked the young novice to devote 12 hours a day to yoga and had persuaded him to give up salt and sugar entirely. So you see, 12 hours a day he asked to Grand Gurudev Vyasadevaji so to practice yoga and persuaded him to give up salt and sugar entirely. So this is the beginning of yoga practice. See, Satyadeva's belongings consisted of two books, one containing 112 Upanishads and the other mere aphorism of the sixth school of Hindu philosophy. Besides, he had no god, a small kettle, one god, one small kettle, and one small dhoti. Dhoti is like a cloth. The austere life of Satyadeva created deep influence on Vyasadeva, who learned from him the Upanishads and six darsans. The aphorisms of yoga were committed to memory by Vyasadeva. Satyadeva emphasized on the importance of subduing passions and taste, and said to him that the conquest of the senses was most essential and the first step towards yoga. So that meaning conquest of the senses is the most essential, meaning controlling of the senses is the most essential, taking them inward. And that is first step of yoga practice, as Satyadeva says. So next now, Satyadeva and Vyasadeva both lived on the machans, too high for the beast. The soft leaves of trees served as their beds and their branches as shelter against the sun and rain. Below the machans, they used to keep fire burning to keep away the animals. The machans is like you put the you like some wood branches bound with the tree on higher away from the ground. So that is machan, and you live on that, like building a hut above the ground. So during the day, sometime witness the elephants playing in the water of the pond, and during the night they hear the fierce roars of tigers and trumpeting of elephants. Vyasadeva stayed with Satyadeva for some time, acquired a steady pose in his company. When tired, he used to recite Gayatri Mantra and Om, and kept his mind quiet and tranquil by concentration in the middle of the brows. Satyadeva sometime used to go Bhimgoda to meet his preceptor, who used to write to him now and then. Vyasadeva had lived in the forest now for several months and felt a desire to see Swami Nityananda, which Satyadeva permitted. Hence, one day they both went to Bhimgoda. Bhimgoda is a place also nearby Body in Haridwar. So Vyasadeva had stayed in the forest for about 11 months before he returned to Haridwar. Satyadeva had been told by his preceptor that he has acquired control on his senses, organs, and purified purified his mind. He had become entitled to learn higher knowledge. He should therefore return and commence higher studies. Satyadeva showed this letter to Vyasadeva, who felt an intense desire for higher knowledge because it was for achieving the object that he had renounced all the comforts of a family life. There, he therefore requested Satyadeva to let him accompany, accompany him to preceptor, but he declined to do it because he had no obtained permission for it. The meaning of this, like the Satyadeva has a guru, so his guru used to write to Satyadeva time to time. So Satyadeva went to see the letter in the city, and then his guru write like he is like a completely controlled his senses and did more very good. So he have to go back to his guru now. And grandfather wanted to go with him, but Satyadeva said like I cannot take because I have no permission. So next, Vyasadeva therefore went to Mohan Ashram and he was readmitted into the school. Austerities he had practiced, he reduced him to mere skeleton. The inmates of the ashram poured ridicule on him, but the lovers of yoga were all praised. Nityananda was much impressed by Vyasadeva's desire for yoga and Nanuram now began to teach him Sanskrit with greater interest still. Vyasadeva now lived in the company of Satyavrata as before and learned yogic practice and studied Sanskrit. Swami Ramananda's letter, Vyasadeva since renounced home and informed neither his father nor Swami Ramananda about himself. Swami Ramananda was the first guru who met him in his hometown. So because he feared that if his father knew where he was and what he was doing, he would force him to go back home. Swami Ramanand, who had been much impressed by Vyasadeva's spiritual inclination and had great love and sympathy for him and was anxious to know his whereabouts. After considerable quest, he came to know that Vyasadeva was staying in the Mohan Ashram. Ramananda wrote to him inquiring about his progress in yoga and study of Sanskrit as about his health and promised to give financial help if necessary. By this time, Vyasadeva had learned how to write Sanskrit. He therefore sent his reply in that language, giving details of his yoga practice and Sanskrit study. He said that he required no money at that time, but he feared that if his father came to know about his stay at Haridwar, he would drag him back home and disturb his study and yogic practice. Vyasadeva's father goes to Haridwar. This one day, Swami Ramananda visited the home of Vyasadeva. On seeing him, his mother began to weep patiently and bitterly and said, "Sadhus are generally kind and sympathetic, but you have taken away my son from me and done me a great wrong. You cannot imagine the pain of a mother's heart. You have sent away my son and made him a beggar. Heaven knows where he lives and what he eats. Since he left me, I have not taken full meal and will not do it till he returns." The Swami was deeply moved by the lady's wailings and tried to assuage her by assuring her that her son was well and happy and studying Sanskrit. But this did not calm her, and she implored her husband to go Haridwar with Swami Ramananda. They both went to the town and met Swami Hitananda and inquired about Vyasadeva, and were told that the moment he was practicing yoga on the bank of the Ganges, Swami Ramananda and the father went and found him deeply lost in yoga practice. Swami Ramananda was very much admired the power of concentration and meditation which Vyasadeva had acquired, because he did not feel at all disturbed by the conversation. It was 8 a.m. that he rose from his seat. It was 8 a.m. Then he rose from his seat and saw his father and preceptor, and made him respectful obeisance to them. The father was moved to tears and held his son in close and affectionate embrace. Then, for some time, then the three went to Swami Hitananda, and Swami Ramananda said to him, "This young man had fled away from his home, and his father has came to take him back." Hitananda replied, "We arrange wherein boarding and lodging, and give them the best education we can, and try to raise their moral level. We do not drag anybody from his home to this place. You can take him away if you like." Vyasadeva, who was standing by, said politely, "I do not want to return home, because there is no opportunity of study Sanskrit and learn yoga. If such opportunities were there, I would not have left home." Swami Ramananda and father assured Vyasadeva that they would start Sanskrit class for him. Then Vyasadeva agreed to accompany them with one Pandit Dharamdeva, a Sanskrit teacher, whom Vyasadeva's fathers had engaged to teach Sanskrit to young men, a monthly salary of rupees 40. So at 40 rupees, he hired a Sanskrit teacher, go back to his home in long time ago, this 1800s thing, and teach Vyasadeva, Grand Gurudev Sanskrit. Now, next is Vyasadeva arrival. Vyasadeva in his family. Before accompanying his father, Vyasadeva had obtained permission to stay with Swami Ramananda and not at home. On their arrival, Vyasadeva's mother could not control herself and wept bitterly for some time, and then patted and kissed him repeatedly, and was transported with the delight at the coming back home. Many neighbors came to meet him. Some reprimanded him, and some sympathized with him, and others warned him not to flee away again. A few sarcastically remarked, "You have now become a great Vedic scholar." Vyasadeva spoke not a word and heard them indifferently. Vyasadeva did not like to stay home because his study of Sanskrit and practice of yoga were often disturbed by inquisitive neighbors and friends. He therefore asked Swami Ramananda to set up a Sanskrit school in his ashram. with Pandit Dhamdeva Sastri as its teacher. The Swami agreed and started a school with 4 and 5 students beside Vyasdeva. This went only hardly for 3 weeks. Then the teacher took 2 week leave to go to Haridwar, seeing his family, and never returned. Vyasdeva was extremely sorry and worried to find his study coming to a stop, but he was helpless. However, now he began to devote his entire time to the practice of yoga, concentration, meditation, and recitation of Gayatri. Next is discussion with his mother. This is very good one. Vyasdeva's mother visited him daily in Swami Ramananda's ashram and spoke to him his indifference to the members of his family, saying, I wonder why you do not think of your parents, brothers, and sisters, and do not care for my grief at the shore of life. You are breathing. I love you most among my children, and you are the most indifferent. One day Vyasdeva spoke thus, I beseech you not to come to me daily because it disturbs my study and practice of yoga. So he don't want his mother to come because it disturbed. I felt deeply interested in the study of Sanskrit and devotion to God, which is not possible at home because father does not like such things. I read Sanskrit and felt interested in yoga. Father ought to have felt pleased to see me doing it because I was not doing anything wrong. After all, worldly life is not everything. Love of enjoyment does not lead to real happiness. Great men like Buddha, Mahavir, Shankar, and Dayananda had to leave home, and so they could save the world from pain and sorrow. I wish you to lead me to the path of reality. I have taken a vow to observe celibacy, and I am determined to follow this path. I shall consider myself very fortunate if you bless me. I know the path I have chosen is extremely difficult, but your love and blessing will help me. The mother was deeply impressed and moved by the earnest words of her son and promised not to be an obstacle on his way, but wanted him to study and practice yoga at home. Vyasdeva further said his parents had reached the age when it was determined for them and to renounce home and become one trustees. Vyasdeva in his family. As they were in his family. As desired by his mother, Vyasdeva returned to live with the family. But he used to devote about 11 hours to the practice of yoga, and this he did under a mango tree in the small garden attached to his house. The branches of the tree lowering down and formed a sort of bower wherein Vyasadeva practiced his yoga. He used to go to Swami Ramananda to study and to hear his discourse and came home to sleep, but he slept hardly for 4 hours. He loved solitary life and felt embarrassed in the presence of the crowd. One day when he was in the garden, some ladies of his family came to meet him, but he was deep in meditation and did not speak to them. They ridiculed him, but Vyasdeva was not at all affected. And the ladies were much impressed, and when they left, they were all praised. So next we will do later on. So we'll see you soon, and I hope you all like this. Om Namaste. Please share our YouTube channel and like the video.